Hey curriculum team, it's Luke, and today we're going to get into the nitty gritty of what you need to know to be part of this team in 2023. Let's get started. So let's talk about the basic process of birthing a lesson series. I'm going to go over a couple points and I'll put them here on the screen as well. Number one, you pray. That is simple. You probably already knew that, but prayer is so key into being in tune with God's Spirit to know what He wants to say to His people through our lesson series at FG. The second thing is keep our year theme in mind, and that's going to be firm foundation for 2023. Keep that in mind. Also, be aware of the calendar. You know, there's a lot of cool things happening in our FG calendar, maybe like Baptism Sunday is coming up, or maybe Mother's Day is coming up. Maybe it might not be in our calendar per se, but it's in the calendar. Things like this are super important to help us hone in what we could talk about in a specific any given month. After that, we need to find a topic that can speak to the majority of social groups in our church. That will be your theme. So this topic will be your theme, and we want to reach as many people as possible. Of course, we want to stay away from getting too broad because we want, it to speak to people. For too broad, you can't really focus in on anything, but also we don't want it to be too focused to where it only reaches a small fraction of our church. We are trying to do our best to reach as many people in our church, as many social groups as possible. Lastly, we need to find a passage or a verse that exemplifies or addresses your theme. So if your theme, say for January, is going to be hanging out with Jesus, then you want to find a verse that complements that or addresses that topic, because of course we want our lessons to be based off of the Bible. Extremely important. Now let's get into creating an outline for your lesson series. So first, you want to break down your theme into 3 separate lessons, and that's going to be one for each week of the month, excluding the 4th week because we have Connect Night, and there's not a lesson on that Connect Night. Each lesson is made up of 6 key parts. The icebreaker is number 1. The icebreaker question, we start off with this just to get people engaged, right? Number 2 is the intro. Catch their attention with a relatable introduction to the topic you're going to be teaching. Number 3, the key verse. Can't forget that. It's one of probably the most important part of the lesson. Number 4, the body of the lesson, which usually is composed of 3 different bullet points. Number 5, the outro, and you want to wrap up your lesson, a nice little bow with a summary of what you learned, or a challenge maybe perhaps to put into practice for your members who are being spoken to. And number 6, you want to end off with the topic question. And here you want to make room for dialogue about the main theme, and I want to encourage you to try to stay away from yes or no questions. Lastly, in creating an outline for each lesson, secure a key verse that you will use to form the body of your lesson. So you have a verse to form your theme, right? You want to have a theme verse, but also for each lesson, you want to have a key verse for each lesson. So maybe you have a passage for your theme. You want to break down that passage into 3 different lessons. That's totally fine. Or if you have one verse that you want to use as your theme key verse, then you want to make sure to approach that key verse in 3 distinct ways in your lessons, 3 different lessons. Now let's talk about writing an FG lesson. Very key. So first, we talked about creating the theme, the topic, kind of creating an outline for what it is you want to say over the months, period. Now we're talking about creating the actual lesson itself. And an average FG lesson should take about 15-ish minutes to speed read through, if you will, or about 8 pages long. So it should be about 8 pages long, and that's including a cover page. The next thing you want to do is create a catchy lesson title that piques interest, something quippy maybe, or something fast, or something that just might be like, ooh, that sounds interesting. Next, you should be able to sum up your entire lesson into 1 phrase, and this is going to kind of be the guiding light for your entire lesson. You want to be able to sum up what you want to say to everybody in 1 phrase. This lesson is a lesson on blank, Next, you're going to want to make your intro relatable and easy to understand for most age groups. Try not to exceed a paragraph with this intro, and always tie it into your key verse or theme. Now, here's kind of a pro tip. The lesson shouldn't make a biblical topic more complex. Instead, it should express simple, profound ideas in practical ways. So instead of getting something small and blowing it up, you want to get maybe something more profound and make it simple and edible to the general audience of our church. Another tip is that splitting the body of your lesson, right? So after the intro, after the key verse, splitting the body of your lesson into 3 parts is not necessarily something that you have to do, if you will, but it is highly recommended because it's highly effective in staying on topic and staying on time. Now, the outro is a summary of what you learned or what you want the group to learn, or it can also act as a call to action, if you will. Lastly, the topic question is meant to spark dialogue. It's an open-ended question intended to get even quiet people talking. Remember, people love talking about themselves, so try to make the topic question a personal question in the spirit of the lesson. Well, curriculum team, that's kind of the breakdown of the responsibilities that you're going to have this year, and I hope this helps you. You can reference this video at any time of the year. If you have questions, you can always reach out to me, but I want to say thank you so much. As you can see, this is a lot of work, and I really appreciate your hand on this, and I believe God is going to use you this year especially to speak to the church. It's an honor. It is a responsibility, and I'm grateful to share this with you. God bless.